Do the best of the best feel stress? Do they feel pressure when they're competing? Let's see.
Someone just asked me there today, how was my morning? And I said it was stressful.
The answer is yes. Every top performer feels stress, and they harness it. That was Rory McIlroy after his win in the Player Championship, and he won after a playoff against JJ Spawn. And I'm going to, with the help of Rory, teach you how to harness your stress, how to expose yourself to the stress and utilize the pressure as a performance enhancer. In addition to that, I'm going to offer you 6 mental toughness tips. That's 7 mental toughness tips in total in today's video. I'm Dr. Haley Perlus, and welcome to today's Mental Toughness Moment. Before we dive into the mental toughness tips, it's really important to understand what pressure, what stress feels like for you. How do you experience it in your body? Let's see how Rory experiences his nerves.
Standing over that tee shot on 16 this morning is the most nervous I've been in a long time. So I think that will stand to me, feeling like that and being able to hit the golf shots that I need while, your stomach sort of not feeling great and your legs are a little shaky and your heart rate is racing. To have to go through that today.
So do you feel shaky? Do you have high heart rate? Maybe you have butterflies in your stomach. Maybe you have sweaty palms. Understand what it looks like, what it feels like in your body so that you can catch yourself. You can be aware of it. And then we apply the first mental toughness tool of embracing it, accepting it, wanting it. Why? Because those nerves, they mean you care. Those nerves somewhere actually make you believe in yourself. They actually are a sign of self-belief. Because you wouldn't be nervous if you didn't care. And you wouldn't be nervous if you didn't have any expectations. And expectations are based on some level of confidence, some level of self-belief.
I think it's a really good thing. People say pressure is a privilege, and it really is. You want to feel like that on the course. That's why I spend the time that I do practicing and trying to master my craft. That you get yourself in those positions to see what you're made of.
Pressure is a privilege. I actually like to think of it as something I earned. When I feel pressure, it's because of all the hard work I've done. It's because of all the success that I've had. I earned to feel all these things. And now we have the responsibility to use that energy because nervousness is energy. Use it now for excitement, for challenge, for passion, for confidence. That's where we're going to head to next. The second mental toughness tip is understanding how to push aside, reframe, reset from bad thoughts to more productive thoughts. Remember that energy, those butterflies, the sweaty palms, the muscle tension, the shakiness, if we're not careful, those will lead to self-doubt. But now we understand that it's energy, and we can use that energy for more productive thinking. Let's see how Rory manipulates. And I say manipulate in a good way. Let's see how he learns to manipulate his thoughts and turns bad thoughts into good thoughts, or pushes out the bad thoughts and comes up with more productive thoughts.
How do you drown out like the bad thoughts and replace them with the positive ones? And I just think you have to try really hard to make those positive thoughts just a little stronger and a little more powerful than the negative ones. We all get negative thoughts, but it's how do you deal with those, and how do you reframe and replace those with what you want to see and what you want to do? Because like even walking from the 16th green to the 17th tee today, I could see myself hitting it in the water, right? So it's something that will crosses your mind, and it's like, okay, well, how do I replace that thought with a better one and visualize and get myself into the moment? And I've practiced hard at that and definitely getting better at it.
Every time you have a thought, any thought, good or bad, you plant a thought seed. That's how I like to think about it. It's just a seed. It's just a thought. until you start giving it a whole lot of attention. That when you do that, when you give it a whole lot of attention, that's when that seed will grow and grow and grow and become a more dominant thought. So what we need to do, like Rory just said, is we need to acknowledge that this is not a seed that I want to give attention to, and I want to replace it. I want to push it out. The only way to push it out, though, is to replace it with another thought seed, one that's going to help me. And then you have to do the work, you have to train, you have to push yourself to focus more on the productive thought, which is usually, if not always, I'd say, technique, strategy, tactics. Now, less is more. I like to think less, but more strategically. Get in there, this new thought, with strategy, with technique, something you're really looking at improving, or a strength that you already have. Doesn't really matter as long as you bring your focus and zone in to something that's going to help you to perform. And then you repeat this thought and you let that grow and you let that grow so that it becomes your more dominant thought. And the negative thought, it's like a muscle, use it or lose it. It will just get weaker and weaker. But the work, as Rory just explained, the work is in spending more time on the productive thought so that it grows. And I just want to highlight one more thing. It's okay if you find yourself thinking negative. You do not need to add unnecessary emotional energy to it. Acknowledge it. You're human. What is the more productive thought? And you can actually go ahead and make a list. You've been performing before. You know what possible negative thoughts you might have. Make a list and then see what productive thoughts you can replace them with. And then if you do find yourself with a brand new thought, well, you've already engaged in the training. You've already been practicing this exercise. So it'll be easier, not easy, but easier to come up with a new productive thought. While we have this amazing post-tournament interview from the Player Championship and winner Rory McIlroy, let's see what other mental toughness tips we can learn. And if you already like what you've learned so far, please go ahead and like this video and subscribe so you get more mental toughness moments. Here we go with mental toughness tip number 3. Although you may love your sport, you may not love every aspect of your sport, and that's okay.
You know, I go back to 2009 when I first set eyes on this golf course, and it certainly wasn't love at first sight. And I've had to learn to play this golf course and adapt my game to it in some ways. And to win for a second time is awesome.
So just like Rory, you may actually need to teach yourself to love certain parts, certain competitions, certain environments, certain aspects of your sport. And like Rory, if there is a specific course, if there is a specific environment that's challenging, well, you take it on as a challenge and you look to see how you can fine-tune your technique, fine-tune your tactics to be better suited for that uncontrollable course. And obviously, most often when we feel better, when we better adapt, when we're performing better, well, the love gets better too. Mental toughness tip number 4 in today's video is all about confidence and owning your confidence.
I'm a better putter. I'm better around the greens. I can flight my ball better in the wind. My ability to shape shots both ways. I'd say those are the things.
Rory McIlroy was able to list off things that he's been improving, things that he's better at, things that he's good at. Can you do that for yourself? With every athlete that I work with in my coaching practice, the first thing that we're going to do is identify your 3 strengths. In order for you to conquer any mental block, in order for you to work with any stress and pressure, in order for you to focus, in order for you to stay motivated, you need to start off with your strengths so that you can improve the other areas. So what are your 3 fundamental strengths? Write them down, say them out loud, own them, so that when someone asks you Just like this person asked Rory, you can list them off and you say them with conviction. You own them. That's what separates the good from the very great, is being able to lead with your strengths. Mental toughness tip number 5 is understanding that there are 2 ways to evaluate your performance. There are the results, very important, I understand, and then there's your physical performance. Pay attention to Rory's 2 different explanations about results and performance, and then also in a second tournament, results and performance.
By no means did I have my best stuff this week, but I was still able to win one of the biggest tournaments in the world. You know, that's a huge thing. Billy Horschel beat me in the playoff at Wentworth, but the way I played down the stretch then was like, that's the way I want to play.
What you heard him explain is that in this tournament, which he played fabulously and he won, wasn't necessarily the best performance of his life, certainly wasn't perfect, it was very, very good. And then he also talked about when he was playing against Billy, Billy won, and he really liked how he played. And he also went on to talk about how that was kind of a turnaround. Yes, he didn't win the tournament. He lost against Billy. However, he understood that he was really starting to play well, and he held on to that. So when you're performing, when you're competing, I want you to learn to evaluate your performance based on the results. I understand that's the name of the game, and also based on your performance, because they are not always the same. Sometimes a good result isn't the best performance, and sometimes a bad result is a fabulous performance. And you have to be able to identify and know the difference so that you can maintain confidence, motivation, and focus for your next competition. Before we jump into mental toughness tip number 6, if you really like what you're seeing and you don't want to miss any mental toughness videos, plus additional resources that I offer for free, go to my website at drhaleyperlus.com and sign in. Send me a message. Send me a direct message. I will read every one of them and I will get back to you. So if you have a question that you want me to answer, create another mental toughness video for you, I will do that. Let's get back to mental toughness tip number 6. And I'll be honest, this is a hard one. In fact, this is a heartbreaking one. Let's see what Rory has to say.
I've had my heart broken a lot over the last few years when, you know, I've had chances on some days and it hasn't quite materialized. And but we all have to go through it. It's a part of the process. It's a part of the learning journey, and ultimately, those are the days that make us better.
There's really 2 things that I want to focus on here. Number 1 is failure, whatever failure is to you. So whatever losing means to you, because not everyone is shooting to be number 1. So whatever losing means to you, it sucks. It really, truly sucks. And you have to be able to accept and be willing to go through that in order to realize your true potential and all the excitement that comes with a really great celebration. So that's the first thing. Everybody will go through it. Failure is an option. It happens. And once we accept that and we're willing to endure that and we're willing to risk for the reward, that will allow you to, well, it doesn't get easier. It's still going to hurt, but it'll allow you to then learn from it. Like Rory said, having that acceptance piece will make you a stronger, mentally stronger performer. In addition to that, I also want you to understand that winning isn't loyal to anyone. We all have the potential to win. We all have the potential to lose. And if you're lucky, you'll experience both. Winning isn't loyal to anyone. So again, this is the nature of the competitive environment. And if you want to be a competitor, this is really the first acceptance piece you have to have. And then with this acceptance piece, you can become a true competitor. Welcome to mental toughness tip number 7. To me, this is super important too. The question Rory was asked was, what is the difference between playing to win compared to playing not to lose. Let's see what Rory has to say.
I think they're sort of the same. They're at least the same feelings. Trying to win and being in that mindset, it can eradicate some of those feelings. You know, if you play to win and you hit an aggressive shot and you hit a really good shot, I think that can relax you and it can like calm your nervous system. Where if you're playing real sort of guidey golf and just trying to, yeah, as you say, not lose, I don't think that sort of golf calms you down. If anything, I think it just keeps you in that sort of heightened nervous state. So yeah, it's much better to play to win. And I think as well, if you play to win and you don't hit the shot that you want to hit, I think you can live with that. But if you play to not lose, you know, you're never really giving yourself the best opportunity, and that's hard to swallow.
Everything that Rory says, I 100% agree with. The nervousness, the physiological feeling is going to be the same. The butterflies, the shaky legs, the sweaty palms, the energy inside your body is going to be the same. However, the distraction from playing not to lose is big. Think about that. If you're playing not to lose, you're looking around at the people you don't want to lose to. When you're playing to win, you're more focused on your target. You're more focused on your performance. There's an energy that's guided forward. I almost like to look at it as, you may not be a runner, but I always like to look at it as running and the runner who's looking forward at that ribbon that they're going to run by cross versus the runner who's constantly looking behind their shoulder to make sure that someone's there. Because if someone's there, they're not losing. It's a very big difference in concentration. It's a very big difference in focus. And obviously, the best performance is going to happen when you're playing to win, whatever winning means for you. In addition, I love what Rory said about the satisfaction at the end. Even if you give it your best shot and it doesn't come through for you, it just doesn't, you just do not meet your goals or meet your expectations. If you are playing to win and giving it all you had and you were focused, there has to be an acceptance to that. When you're playing not to lose, you are leaving something on the table because you are allowing yourself to be distracted. And if you're a true competitor, you're not going to be happy with that. So let's go out there and play to win. What you see here are the 7 mental toughness tips. We started out with them harnessing stress. Stress isn't going anywhere for even the best of the best, so we might as well harness it and use it as a performance enhancer. And then we got 6 additional mental toughness tips along the way. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the space provided. And until next time, have a wonderful rest of your day.